say shibboleth. That's because they had been raised up in a certain way, and their lips and their tongue and their teeth and everything that works together to make speech had not been trained to put those sounds together. That's why French have an accent, English people have an accent, Aussies have an accent, Russians have an accent. Americans are the only people in the world who do not have an accent. We say it right every time. Just kidding. But the idea is that God had always, He put it in His Word that every tongue would confess that Jesus is Lord. And He brought them around the throne in Revelation chapter 7 from every tongue. Every tongue. No matter how that tongue works, whether it says ar or whether it says ar, okay, or whether in replacement for an r it says aw, it doesn't matter. Simply because they pronounce a certain syllable a certain way doesn't mean that they're violating God. You think God is such a big baby that He sits up in heaven going, "You say my name right"? Anyway, go watch those and look at those scriptures where it specifically points to the Gentiles and their tongues confessing that Jesus is Lord. All right? Let's see here. Zubin says, I've been following your ministry for almost a year and have been thoroughly blessed by your labors in the Lord. Have a question regarding a passage of the one and only true Word of God, King James Bible. Isaiah 45:7, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. The creating evil reference means God is not the author or the... Now, hang on here. I'm going to read what you said. The creating evil reference means is God is not the author or the cause of evil, rather that He created the option through free will of evil in order to test all of His creation's love for Him, right? Question mark. If you could please address this query for me, it would be mucho apreciado. In my mind, this is the last verse that can play into the Calvinist hands, and I would like to disarm them fully. Many thanks for... Okay. Now, I don't know how the Calvinists use this particular verse. I don't understand that. Okay, I don't know much about Calvinism other than it just a lot of it doesn't sound right to me according to the Bible. But anyway, the passage here, Isaiah 45:7, I form the light and create darkness. Now put those two together. Okay, put that idea together. If God formed the light, then and think about opposites. Darkness is, light is not the absence of darkness. Darkness is the absence of light. Okay? That's what happened. You go in and you turn the light out in your room. You did not turn darkness on. All right? I make peace and create evil. Well, He created Lucifer with the full knowledge that Lucifer was going to do what he did. And He created him. And I would agree with the idea, and I have said this before, that the reason for God creating evil, creating Lucifer, creating darkness, creating all those things, and God is the one who planted the tree of knowledge of good and evil in the garden. God is the one who did that. But Adam still had a free will. He had a choice. Adam, upon Eve partaking of that fruit, Adam could have said, "Baby, what's wrong with you?" He could have said that. But he didn't. He ate it. Why? Is it because he had no choice? No, he had a choice. And every day that Adam existed in that garden, he walked right to the tree of life, right next to it. And he ate from the tree of life, and he did not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil until the tempter came. And the tempter plays a very, very important role, and that is God is going to use the tempter, just like in Deuteronomy 13, where He talks about how God Himself sent the false prophets. Why? To prove you, to see if you're going to walk in my way or not. And those of you who have been part of Signs and Wonders movements, Joel's Armies movements, Hebrew Roots movements, you've been part of the Seventh-day cult, you've been part of this, been part of that, everything else in the world, And now that you've come out of that stuff and you see the King James Bible for what it is, you just say, you know what? I had a choice. I chose to follow the signs and wonders, but down in my heart I knew it wasn't right, and God showed me the reality of it, and I'm out now, and I chose this way, and God gave me that choice. But you and I both know there are people who follow that stuff. That's what they wanted. They wanted it. For some reason or another, they wanted that way. And so I don't know if this answers your question as far as being able to disarm them. But we know for a fact, Zubin, that God created Lucifer. We know for a fact that Jesus chose Judas Iscariot with full knowledge that he was going to do what he was going to do. We know that God created the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. We know for a fact what God said about Pharaoh. God raised up Pharaoh for one reason, and that was to show forth the glory of God. Did Pharaoh always have a choice? Well, yeah, we see Pharaoh's choices clearly in the book of Exodus. Pharaoh both chose to let the Israelites go, and then he made up his mind. He changed his mind and said, I'm going to go get them back. So I don't know how that plays up against the Calvinists, but and I'm assuming from your email that you know something about Calvinism and they don't believe in choice, and that is clearly unbiblical. Sophie, how you doing, Sophie? Sophie says, Pastor Mike, I assume you haven't tried the Dukan diet, D-U-K-A-N, yet, because doctors will not recommend it. It's against a healthy diet. Let's see here. Okay, she sent me a couple books, and Sophie, I appreciate that, and I will look into it. All right, I will look at it. Jerry and Joyce. Which one? Jerry or Joyce? You have to decide who's going to talk here. What are your feelings about television viewing? Well, I make videos. Okay. Sorry. Recently, we learned about a ministry that advocates the elimination of TV as a Christian. We only have basic cable TV, 20 channels, watch the evening news, and so on and so on. Of course, we are watchers via your DVDs. How much TV should Christians watch? I know a lot of people that don't own a television. Okay, they don't own one. They don't have one. They don't watch it. I have also heard Christians and some preachers to say that you are going to lose your salvation if you watch television. That is not true. My salvation is not based upon the flicker rate of 25 frames per minute or 29.29 frames per second. My salvation is not based on that. Is it okay to watch TMZ, Jerry Springer, any of that stuff? No. I do not, and what I don't want to do is I don't want to interfere in someone else's choice that they've made where they said, for us, TV's not an option. And maybe their son or daughter is listening, and their son or daughter say, see, Pastor Mike said it's okay to watch TV. I'm not saying that. Let me put it this way. I would never deliberately do this. I could go, there's a little tavern up the road here. I could pull in there, get out of my car, walk in that place, sit down, order a Coca-Cola, and talk to people in there and never even think anything about wanting a drink in there. That just never crosses my mind. I can do that. I have liberty. Okay? But there are some things that I cannot do. I cannot associate with. I cannot get around. One of the reasons why God pulled me out of the denomination was because I was going to be a suck-up. I was going to be a people pleaser, and I was going to try to work my way up the ladder. And had I had tie-ins with all those guys in the denomination, I would not be saying some things that I'm saying right now, because I would have to see, they would say, Mike, what are you doing? And God knew that and for me, I cannot ever join back in with the denomination, because I will play suck up to those people. I can't do that. I know some good pastors that are still in the denomination. They don't have the hang up that I've got. So it's not wrong for them to be in the denomination right now. They're the ones who are standing strong. They're the ones who are trying to make a change and make a difference, and I applaud that. I personally cannot be in that. Now, I have the liberty to have a television. Liberty comes with responsibility. If I abuse that responsibility and I abuse that liberty, then I should have my TV taken away. And so you have to examine your life and your weaknesses and your strengths. And as you say, you want to watch old movies. I like old movies. One of my favorite movies is The Grapes of Wrath. And here, this is kind of interesting, because John Steinbeck wrote that as a liberal supporting big government to take over people's problems. But I like looking at taking a historical look at how life was back then, because I always wish I could have been born some other time other than when I'm born now. That fascinates me to no end. So I can watch stuff like that. I can watch stuff on History Channel. I like to watch sports every now and then. I watch the news every day, things like that. But we don't have HBO as part of our satellite package for one big reason. They are nothing but almost pure pornography. We don't have it at our home, period. It's filth. And some would say, well, we only watch the good stuff on there. I wouldn't do that. Anyway, this is a choice you have to make, and you are not condemned by having a television set and watching the news. Neither are you a better Christian for not having one. This is a choice you make, but you're not going to go to hell because you have a TV. All right? Mary. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate that. It's easy to tell you love your job, Mike. I do. I love what I do. I wish I could do more of it. I do. I wish that I could sit in here for days and days and days and talk and preach and make videos, and I really do. I wish I could do more of that. Tom from Bristol. Pastor Mike, enjoyed last night's service. You mentioned that the pre-flood year was 360 days. I have a lot of books and vids on creationism, and I believe it was Kent Hovind who said the earth was smaller and the fountains of the deep is the mid-oceanic ridge, and the crack around the earth caused it to expand, giving us the extra days. Makes sense to me. I also believe God is going to restore conditions to pre-flood during the... That's kind of what I believe. Now, I don't know about the mid-oceanic range and the earth being smaller. I don't know anything about that. But I do believe that I just have an idea that God is going to restore something like the Garden of Eden during that time. All right? Let's see here. Let me take a drink of some sweet tea here. Amos. Here comes Amos.